Dr. Jackie's brand new podcast, Ask Dr. Jacquie. We can't wait to hear and talk about the latest and greatest when it comes to your relationship.
Hey, it's Dr. Jacquie, and I'm back with Ask Dr. Jacquie podcast. But I have joining us Stephanie Tomlinson. Hello, Stephanie. How's it going today?
Hi, Dr. Jacquie. Thank you so much for having me. It is going amazing, per usual. Like you said, on top of the world and rising.
Yes, and my new one is when people say, how are you doing? It's I'm well and winning. All right.
I'm well and willing. I'm taking that one too.
Yes, you got to be winning. Whatever you're doing, you got to win at it. But listen, I want to just jump into our topic today because we're in the second month already of 2023. And I just cannot believe how quickly time has literally flown.
Yeah.
Our topic today is what do relationships look like in 2023? What does real love look like in 2023, I should say?
Okay, let me.
That topic, and I was like, right off the top, that's a really good question. What does it look like in 2023 after COVID? People are now coming out of their burrows and they're starting to peek their heads out and get back into the main flow of life. But what does real love look like? And this is a loaded question because what does real love look like? And then in 2023?
Yeah, that is an amazing question. Am I answering this question?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's jump in.
So, okay, real love in my sense of real love, and let's start with real love, and then let's go to real love 2023. Okay, so with the real love, I believe that real love is knowing your identity. So when you have gotten to know and to understand yourself, now you can choose a partner, based off who aligns with you, who has the same vision as you, who has the same purpose, who has that same goal. So that is real love. That's one of the aspects of real love. Also understanding what that commitment means. Love it's not a feeling. Relationships experience waves, high tides, low tides. And the tides does not mean that low tides does not mean that relationships are over, but it's usually an indication that the pull on your relationship is causing your relationship to evolve to higher heights, deeper depths. There's levels to this thing. And a lot of times we tend to want to stop when the things and the feelings aren't there anymore and we believe it's over, and we could be missing out on something so great. So knowing and understanding that a commitment is not a feeling, that to me is real love.
I love what you said because listen, right now it's a little chilly. We get to put on our sweaters and us girls get to put on our blue boots and stuff like that. But just like those cold breezes begin to blow, soon they'll be over, giving way to spring, right? And so the feelings are just like that. They're seasonal. And so it doesn't mean that they're always going to be our mainstay. I think if most people knew that, maybe a lot of people wouldn't be divorced. I found something really interesting when I was reading some data. They were talking about the people that have divorced. Do you know that 70% of them said that if they had it to do again, they would stay married?
Wow.
You know what? I think that they figured out that whatever it was that they jumped ship for is in this person, that person, and the next person in one form or another. And that it really means that they can't, go around the mountain. They have to solve it and to figure it out, and they have to master it. So in other words, you got to climb that mountain instead of trying to avoid it.
Exactly, because it's going to that mountain you're going to have to face no matter what relationship you get in. The mountain's not going anywhere.
There you go. And here's the thing. As long as you're dealing with human beings, we're all flawed, but we just want to love and we need to be loved. But I want to tell you what I think that love and real love at 2023 looks like. Okay. And I hope that the listeners aren't going to be upset. But to me, real love in 2023 can be a little impatient.
That's the 2023 part. I'm not there yet, but that's a good.
Well, because I feel like, people might have really met their match, but they don't take the time to drill down. Yeah. And it's like, for me, real love, you got to drill down on that. Because it's just like, some things work very well. You get a key to your flat, you try to open the door. I know the door to my office, I have to jiggle it. It is the right key, but it doesn't just unlock the door on the first try. I got to know how far to stick the key in, then I got to turn it a little way, and then boom, the door opens. And so I find that as we're into this age of social media and people not really talking, I talked to somebody the other day and she said, I said, well, when did you last talk to your boyfriend? Oh, I was just talking to him yesterday. But what she really meant was she wasn't talking to him. They were texting. Now, there's not too much depth that you're going to get through texting.
But that's 23 for you.
But this is why I'm saying it's a little impatient.
Most definitely.
We don't take the time and make the investment that's necessary for real gold. When you're mining for something real, there's another part of it that's involving the processing. If you probably found a diamond or even a chunk of gold, you wouldn't even recognize it because you have to do the processing of it before it really begins to glow and glisten. And I think sometimes real love in 2023 could be missing out because people are just too impatient, or they lack the skills to know how to properly drill down.
Most definitely. I think everything that we practice is fast. Everything that we practice, whether it's food, whether it's, money, everything that we practice, we want it to happen fast. So it translates the same when it comes to our relationship. Oh, if it's not happening fast, or if I don't feel happy and content right now, then it must not be it. Let me move on to the next thing, and we're practicing, to be honest, we're practicing divorce.
Yes, we are. Well, I think that the issue is a good friend of mine says, if your context is wrong, then your conclusion is also going to be wrong. So I think when we don't really understand what real relationships look like, we're spending all of our time looking for the wrong thing. And then we're surprised when it doesn't work. And I guess what I want to say is that real love is messy. It's not all neat and wrapped up in a box. Real love goes up and down. Real love is not always happy and jubilant, and wonderful. Sometimes it's more companionship and more commitment than it is love and romance, right?
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm going to even add to yours, but it's whole. It's coming to a place in yourself that takes responsibility and accountability for your own spirituality, for your own physical, for your own emotional, for your own financial and mental well-being. When you take full responsibility over these areas, you're not consciously or subconsciously expecting other people to kind of fill those spaces for it. So that's real love as well. So it's not like, oh, well, make me happy or make me feel content or, meet my needs. No, it's learning how to do that on your own.
Well, here's the accusation. Most people say, you don't make me happy anymore, or I don't feel complete with you. And it's always putting this responsibility on somebody else when I'm like, bring your own happy. And you need to come complete because I'm complete and I deserve a whole person. And so I think making those small shifts, these are micro shifts, but they move the needle so well in a relationship that you can really develop, that you can nurture, that you can love and invest in, that can really take you the distance. Like what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with when love and commitment is attached to a person, but it's not attached to a vision, it's not attached to a goal. So that may sound like, I can see myself sleeping with this person. I can see myself being happy with this person. I can see myself having babies. I can see this person taking care of me. I can see this person meeting my needs. And if that's as far as we can see, then the moment the sight changes, the person eventually has to change as well. So it starts out super exciting in the moment, but when things fade out, then the next person is like, okay, on to the next. So we have a commitment to a person, but there is no attached goal. There's no vision. So our sight is short-sighted. Yeah, so whenever the person, shifts or changes, or we're not seeing what we can no longer benefit from no more, now the person has to change.
Well, I love that. But with that, I'm going to shift on to our next one. I wanted to ask, do you feel that love in 2023 is desperate and settling? I mean, I just want to play devil's advocate. We're talking about all these wonderful things, about love in 2023, but what are some of the shortcomings?
You said, is it desperate? And what was the other word? Settling. You know what? I'm okay. I'm going to play the other side. 23, most people are not jumping into marriages as quickly. They're not. We are the millennials is the slowest generation to marry. The baby boomers was actually the quicker generation to marry. The baby boomers were married between the ages of 20s and 21s. That was the average age where you guys were getting married. And I believe
I'm a baby boomer. I might be a millennial too.
You guys.
You did, but you were accurate.
But you're right. You are a baby boomer.
I am.
You guys are getting married a lot younger. This generation in 2023 is actually, we're holding it off a little bit. It's kind of like, no, I see my parents kind of rush into things and maybe go through something, or maybe get cheated on, or maybe get divorced. I'm not trying to go through all that. So you know what? I'm going to take my time and I'm not going to settle. I'm going to get my career in order. I'm going to get my finances in order. I'm going to get this and, you know, all this great stuff in order. And then I'll consider if I want to be married. So that's what I believe it looks like in 2023. I don't think we're settling as much as the past generations.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that younger generations are willing to be long rangers for quite a while.
One
might be alone.
Yep.
It means you ferreting out the weasels and getting the right one.
Exactly. More than not.
Mm-hmm.
People are still getting married, but, you know, I don't think it's so much pressure that, you know, if you're married and if you have children, that means you are now established. I don't think that rule applies anymore.
Well, you know, I say that because the first thought that I have is about people wanting women, particularly that are of baby bearing age. But even in my own family, I have someone in my family that just decided to have a baby because why? They're approaching 31 and hadn't found the right person, and they just didn't want to be geriatric when their child is graduating from high school. And all of these are items that I can, you know, who can't understand that? You know, okay, so if I'm almost 31 and I haven't even found a person, if I haven't had a child yet, I'm going to be 50 something by the time my child graduates college.
Yeah.
And then by the time they get married and have kids, I might already be gone. I mean, I understand the logic. So when you say that people are taking longer, I think that that is true in some cases, but I think that there's many people, particularly those that are watching their biological clocks, that are not waiting. I think they're looking at alternative plans. And I think that the research bears that out simply because the number of people that are cohabitating has increased like threefold just in the past 30 years. And so Dr. Banks wrote a book, Is Marriage Obsolete for Black People? And I thought it was a really interesting read because he filled the book with a lot of research around the declining marriage rates just overall, but just how much more severe they were in communities of color.
Wow. Yeah, I honestly find that to be true.
And then what else we know? We know that women, the more educated that they are, the less likely that they're able to even marry. And then if they do, they're much older. Again, it puts us back on the biological clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that love in 2023 is very different. I think people are willing, as you said earlier, I agree, maybe to not be a parent or to only have one child because they understand that in terms of looking and waiting and building their career, they've kind of timed out.
Yeah, and I think they understand that that's one of the things that they are sacrificing and giving up. I don't think it's, you know, oh man, I've waited this long. Am I going to be, you know, I think it's one of the things where, okay, if I decide to put my focus on my career, you know, and myself, you know, I run a risk of, you know, maybe only having 1 or 0 kids. And I do hear a lot of people are okay with that, but I also hear a lot of people are not okay with that as well. You know, and I think maybe that's where the settling comes in at for the ones who have a hard time, you know, coming to the conclusion that they may not be the mom. You know, it's kind of like, well, I got to get this thing rolling now, so I'll take what I can get.
Right. Well, you know, to conclude our podcast today, our discussion, I want to kind of hit on just the last issue. What does parent partnering look like in 2023? Because that's another thing that I feel is much stronger, and the data does bear that out, that couples are looking for partnerships more than they ever have. And the traditional roles of marriage and relationships are really kind of fading away. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah. Now, that's an interesting one. And the first thing I think about is going back to the baby boomers. But it's not you, because you look like a Gen Y.
Thank you.
But going back to the baby boomers, I think it was a generation where, you know, because they did get married so young, and it was mainly about partnership more than anything else. I don't know, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. A lot of the millennials saw, you know, it was an age where a lot of people saw a lack of, you know, that togetherness, a lack of partnership. A lot of divorce happened, during those times, a lot of abandonment, a lot of the single mothers, all of, this is when all of this came out. So I believe that because, of that generation saw so much, the millennial generation saw so much in that area, they're trying to do something different. So are they looking for partnership, or are they looking for real love? I'm wondering, like, just based off of their experiences, could they be looking to do something different than what their parents did? And what is that? Is that partnership, or is that real love? I'm not honestly sure.
But here's my thing. Why are we trying to do something different instead of doing something that works? That's really different. I'm going to say it again. Why are we trying to do something different instead of something that works? Something different doesn't mean that it's going to work. I get the philosophy. Why do the same thing? But I think it's not so much about doing the same thing as it is about developing skill sets, right? So you can I remember this proverb that says that a wise woman builds her house and a foolish one tears it down in a day. So there are people that are building wonderful relationships. They start off good, but it's the things that they don't know how to handle, that they don't address correctly, that erodes the relationship. Like, I talk to women all the time that don't understand the concept of guarding your relationship. And guarding your relationship doesn't mean that you are jealous and that you're on a tangent every time your person talks to somebody that's of the opposite sex. No, what it means is that you are planning for what is coming in the future. And so you're protecting your future in your present. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm in my present, but I am protecting my future by the decisions and the things that I allow, that I disallow, or the things that I do currently. And I just feel like a lot of people don't understand how to do that. There is an authority that helps us to ensure that we protect what we have built. And, that could be through so many very simple things, like it could be the rules that govern your relationship. Like, my husband and I have rules around what we think is going to protect and keep our love strong. That we don't, the old cliche is when you don't go to bed angry. But also that we go out together and that we stay together if we're out in couples, that we sit together, that when we're together, we touch. Now, the science is on that as well, that just touching builds intimacy. So it's like your intimacy battery. You want to keep it, well fueled. There's so many very simple things that you can do. Making sure that the children do not take over your life.
Oh, yeah.
I have to raise my hand because that's something that began to happen to me. And I remember by the time my kids were about 5 or 6, I realized how enmeshed my life and my marriage had become in parenting. Some of that is unavoidable, but I think you have to be intentional. You see what I mean by I'm going to protect my future in my present state. So from my present place, I began to make different decisions around what I did and what I did not do to ensure that there was still that niche for me and my husband to have romantic love, for my husband and I to have that intimacy, to foster it, to blow on the flames of it. Because if you're not careful, kids will eke out. Oh my God. They will consume every bit of your relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think that those are things that are really, really important. And, I used to be really afraid of marriage, because I thought, like, I don't know how to do it. And then I realized there's nothing for me to fear. Even if I'm a very giving, very loving, deeply loving person, if I just know how to choose the right person that complements my type of love. And then if I learned how to build a strong marriage, I didn't need to fear marriage, that marriage was going to dissolve or that I was going to have some breach. I think it's in those two key things. So I think that that's a part of what I'd like to leave for listeners today.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think the question becomes, how many of us are getting those two key things? Where are we learning this information? Where are we going to? For the people who never got an opportunity to experience that, hopefully, they're reaching out to coaches like yourself, in order to get those things, because
just as yourself as well.
Of course, in order to get those things. But yeah, you are absolutely right. Those are two very key things to figure out, like, am I marrying the right person that fits me, and the other one as well.
But this conversation has gone full circle. You started with the statement that people needed to start with love, and love was loving themselves first by knowing themselves. So I think that's a really unique term. We kind of went full circle here in the conversation.
What are 3 tips on how to proud them out in 2020?
I think I'll start. I think my first tip is get yourself fit for marriage. If you say you're ready, get your stuff in order, because you want to give your very best self to someone else, because they're probably praying to God right now for this wonderful person for themselves. But if you know that you still haven't cleaned out your closet from all of those skeleton bones and all of the painful, hurtful memories of the past that keep you from really fully giving your whole self at being your whole self, you need to work on that. That's tip number 1. I think that there's a law that like attracts like. So if I'm going to make myself my very best, by nature, by virtue of doing that, I'm going to attract a really good person to myself as well. So that's going to break the cycle for a lot of you ladies and gents that are out there being attracted to the same wrong thing. Tip number 2, I would say to know what is your top 10 and put them in the order of importance. What is it that you need from a person in a relationship? What does this relationship need to look like for you? Because if I know that, it's very easy for me to know who is not going to be a part of that. But if I don't know, almost anybody could fit. And then lastly, number 3, be ready to make the commitment towards the work that it will take for you to build a strong, healthy, and enduring relationship.
Those are good. Those are good.
You got 3 too that are excellent.
Okay, I'm gonna try to go around yours. Okay. So know who you are. Build a relationship with yourself. The relationship that you have with yourself is the most important relationship that you can ever have. So if you build to know, if you get to know who you are, get to know, understand your identity, your purpose, your call, what are you here for, what your visions, what your goals are, then that will cause you to be able to make a better decision on who you choose. Number 2, I'm going to say, understand what your values are. What are those core values that you have? Because those core values are going to be the very thing that causes you to make the decisions that you make. And we don't live for other people. We live for ourselves. So in order to choose the right person, we have to know, okay, this is what works for me. This is what my non-negotiables are. This is what the things I'm okay with dealing with. So know what those core values are. And then the last one I'm going to say is set healthy boundaries around your core values. So boundaries basically teach people how to treat you. And if you are not teaching others how to treat you, whenever you're entering into a relationship, it could negatively impact you. So set very healthy boundaries around those core values to protect them and to protect yourself in your relationships.
And I want to add this on this one, Stephanie. If you have difficulty establishing good, healthy boundaries, you need to take a, assertiveness training.
No, yeah.
Sometimes you know what it is that people need to do, but you just don't have the guts or the ability to express that. So assertiveness. Anything that you need, it's out there. So plug in.
100%.
What's the number 1 mistake millennials and Generation Z make when dating?
The number 1 mistake is, to me, not doing the work to know, not doing the work to drill down, to know themselves. It's the work. It's that other 4-letter word that's not nasty. W-O to the R to the K. Do the work to know yourself. Do the work to know the person. And I wouldn't be wasting my time. If I can already see that the person is not, but I would do the work to ascertain that. And then I think that we also need to understand that life is short. Have fun. Meaning, don't take yourself and take things too seriously.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one thing that I think that millennials do wrong. They don't do the work.
Yeah.
And they're so surfacey that they think that surface work is the real work. But the real work is beyond the surface. It's the things that nobody sees or most people don't know about. That's what I consider to be the work. That's when you get to the core of knowing yourself. You get to the core of really knowing the person that it is that you're dating. And think about it. If you don't know yourself, how could you expect anybody else to know you? If you don't love yourself, how can you expect anyone else also to love you?
That's why I truly believe it's number 1.
Yeah.
It's number 1, because anything outside of that, it's you're already in it. It's number 1. I don't think anything goes on top of that.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm 100% in agreement. You know, getting to know yourself, getting to understand yourself, so you can make those decisions. But yeah, it doesn't
Dating over text.
say that again.
Stop dating over text. Stop trying to get to know people through texting. You can only go so deep. It's surface.
It's crazy.
Good time.
It's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know. I think that's more for the Gen Yers and maybe Gen Zers. But yeah, that tech situation, that's
serious.
you know.
Well, I want to thank you so much for spending time. I hope that our listeners learned a great deal. And do you want to give your handle, Stephanie?
Well, actually, I'm trying to think of the.
We'll put it in. We'll put it in the.
Thank you.
At the bottom.
Thank you. There's literally 10 things just came to my head at one time.
No worries. No worries. Well, until next time. And until next time.
And thank you so much.
And thank you again, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.